Hello, everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. I want to begin by acknowledging that we are on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabeg people, and a reminder for those of us who are settlers to learn and share truth and seek justice. Today is Intersex Awareness Day, and we are here to make a number of calls for the rights of intersex people, including banning non-consensual surgeries. I am joined today by the Honorable Rob Oliphant, member for Don Valley West, Jyssika Russell, Manager of Public Affairs and Communications at the Enchanté Network, and Sabra Owen is here to share her story. This is not a partisan issue, and every person and story is unique. I wanted to make sure you heard at least one story today. Les personnes intersexes sont très cachées et même effacées de la société, exclues et humiliées par la normativité. Their basic rights are not protected, and they often face ongoing physical and psychological torment from non-consensual medical interventions. These include forced surgeries on infants and children. Today, we are echoing the calls put together by the Enchanté Network to nationally recognize Intersex Awareness Day on October 26th, change the Human Rights Code to add sex characteristics or intersex status, ban non-consensual surgeries on intersex children and infants, provide research funds for research on the intersex community that is led by intersex people themselves, amend subsection 268.3 of the Criminal Code, this is about informed consent, hold a call to evidence for the intersex community to share their experiences, and update forms and data collection to be more intersex inclusive. Il semble évident que les caractéristiques sexuelles doivent être protégées dans les lois sur les droits de la personne et qu'il faut soutenir la collecte des données. Ce que je veux surtout souligner, ce sont les interventions médicales non consensuelles, y compris les opérations chirurgicales. Such practices are atrocious and cause lifelong problems. This is a matter of bodily autonomy and informed consent, condemned by international human rights organizations and not something that should be going on in Canada today. I will now pass to the Honorable Rob Oliphant for remarks.
Thank you, Amita, and thank you, Enchanté Network, for your advocacy, your constant attention to details and important issues that affect our community. Like Amita, I will just echo that I am very pleased to be standing today on the unceded territory of the Algonquin peoples. C'est vraiment un grand plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui pour les choses, les enjeux des intersexes, les gens d'intersex. C'est nécessaire d'avoir l'attention aux les défis, les choses, les enjeux pour les gens intersexes. My name is Rob Oliphant, and before I entered politics, I was both an advocate for many issues, including such things as ordination for LGBTQ people in the United Church of Canada. And as a United Church minister, I recognize that the expansion of that acronym was an important part of the progression of both our understanding and also our quest for human rights for our entire community and for all communities. The LGBTQI community, now in our government known as the 2S LGBTQI plus community, is a community that is broad, diverse, interesting, sometimes challenging for some people, and always engaging and working together. We've banded together as people who have differences, people who come to society with different gifts and sometimes different challenges. And the discussion here today is an important one to discuss the causes, the importance, and the aspirations of the intersex community and intersex individuals. Intersex people in Canada, around the world, face an uphill battle in almost every sphere: social, health, family, justice, just to name a few. When I worked as a United Church minister, I was engaged with families all the time and celebrated the birth of their children as new babies came into the world. And on more than one occasion, I met with families whose newborn infant did not match typical binary understandings of male and female. And there was a huge challenge for these families to understand this. And what we are about today on Intersex Awareness Day is to recognize that we are all created the way we were meant to be created. This is an important statement. Our government has an action plan. It has included it has included the intersex people and community, and it is part of our agenda. We are just beginning that agenda. Minister Marcy Ian, Minister for Women and Gender and Youth, I think, I'm sorry, the titles change in government quite regularly, but Marcy Ian doesn't change in her commitment to ensuring that we have full inclusion and human rights. It's complex in a government to find all the ways that will touch intersex people for their aspirations of being fully equal participants in our communities. But it does touch on health, it does touch on justice, it does touch on all the ways in which we can include people to ensure that they belong and know they belong. Those discussions are undergoing now. Even as I speak, the action plan is in a consultation phase. We had a consultation to create the action plan. Now there are a series of consultations, both at Justice and Health and in other places, to ensure that we are on the right track. One of those consultations, or all of those consultations, frankly, will engage intersex people. It is important for us to hear, to listen. The stories are important. The hopes and dreams are important. And we will continue to ensure that our government is responsive, our government is engaged, and the progressive march for human rights will continue, and intersex people will find their rightful place, not only in Canada, but I would need to say around the world. Thank you very much.
We'll now go to Jyssika Russell from the Enchanté Network.
Thank you, Amita, and thank you to everyone else joining us today, Parliamentary Secretary Oliphant, the intersex advocates joining us today on Intersex Awareness Day to come together and recognize the need for change in Canada, change in how we support and uplift intersex individuals in this country. My name is Jyssika Russell, and I'm the Manager of Public Affairs and Communications at the Enchanté Network. As Amita mentioned, the Enchanté Network is Canada's network of 2 LGBTQI+ community centers and organizations comprised of over 200 member organizations in every province and territory. And I'm so glad to have our member organization, Intersex London, joining us today. For those of us who work and volunteer in support of our 2 LGBTQI+ community, so often do we receive the questions about the acronym. What does this little letter stand for? Why is this letter included? And it's our responsibility as 2 LGBTQI+ community members, advocates, and allies to highlight the value of all members and identities within our community and the challenges they face. And there's no better time than today than right now to highlight the needs of our intersex community members. It's estimated that 1.7% of the world's population are born with intersex characteristics, about the same proportion of people who have red hair. Intersex people are subject to numerous human rights abuses around the globe, including infanticide, forced medical interventions, job discriminations, and issues with lack of access to justice. On October 26, 1996, the Intersex Society of North America and their allies enacted the first ever public protest in support of intersex human rights at the American Academy of Pediatrics annual convention. We share our 7 calls to action today in honor of intersex advocates past, present, and future. These calls to action were developed in partnerships with intersex organizations and individuals across the country. Today, we call on the Canadian government to nationally recognize Intersex Awareness Day today, November 26th. We call on the Canadian government to add sex characteristics or intersex status to the Human Rights Act. We call on the Canadian government to ban non-consensual surgeries on intersex children and infants. We call on this Canadian government to provide research funds for research on the intersex community that is led by intersex people themselves. We call on the Canadian government to amend subsection 268(3) of the Criminal Code. We call on the Canadian government to hold a call to evidence for the intersex community to share their experiences, as the UK government did in 2019. And we call on the Canadian government to update all forms and data collection to be more intersex inclusive. We look forward to continue to work with this government across party lines to secure and benefit and improve rights and access to justice and resources for intersex people across the country, and hope that we can continue to be leaders in Canada for 2S LGBTQI+ issues across the globe in this way. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Jyssika. And I want to acknowledge that Piper Kearney from Intersex London has also joined us. But now I would like to go to Sabra Owen to share her story.
Tansi, good morning, bonjour. I was at a very young age in my life when my parents and their doctor decided that my sex should be changed. At the time, they kept saying I was a troubled child. But at that time, I didn't understand so much what it actually meant. I knew I had some problems that I didn't understand, and I had no one to teach me or show me at that time. It was scary, and it took several years in my life before I decided that somebody or something had to change. In doing so, my family physician helped me out 100%, put me in contact with people that explained to me what my body was happening to it and what was going on. And thankful that 5.5 years ago, I was able to have corrective surgery done. And I'm happier now than I've ever been in my life. I know a lot of young children and young people have this taken away from them, and it's wrong. Until you're of age, do you know what you are or who you are? I guess it's special to that individual. I know it was to me, and I didn't understand. Today's technology does tell us that there are differences, and there are people out there that'll support us and help us in this walk of our life. And I'd just like to thank each and every one of them that helped me and give me this privilege today to talk to you and explain to you that I went through some very serious and scary times in my life until I was 64, when the whole world seemed to turn around for me. And I am more happier now than I've ever been in my life. And I would just like to thank the people in society of the LGBTQ that are behind me 110%, giving me this privilege today to be able to speak to children and tell my story to anyone that is willing to listen or need guidance or help. I would like to be a part of their lives. Thank you very much, Meg Witch.
Thank you very much, Sabra, for speaking today. Before I close, I would like to give the opportunity for anyone else who would like to add comments. Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening. I urge everyone to learn more about what the intersex community faces. Change definitely starts with awareness. And at this time still, people are having decisions made for them about their bodies when they're still very, very young. And those decisions about who we are and how we wish to be ourselves and live our lives should always rest with that person, and to not have things imposed upon us. Thank you very much. Merci tout le monde. Or there's question. If anyone has questions, we're here for questions. Thank you.
There are no questions. This concludes the press conference. Thank you very much.